Pimp Daddy, Don Deluxe, Sugar Boss, Lord Wigglepants, the Grand Poobah of Pizzazz, the greatest villain in Star Rail. He goes by many names, my friends, most well known being Lygus. My god, folks, can we... They've done it, man. Lygus, this act felt like the final boss. Even before the big reveal at the end, what made it impactful as it was there was no shilling. Hycelins, the character coming out this patch, has a sword to Lygus's neck. He just grabs it with 2 fingers, tosses her away. Know your place, you fucking line of code! Hell, even Saridra, who by all accounts is a terrible person, a monster, a psychopath, was never really redeemed, and she comes out in 3 weeks. I couldn't believe the story I was playing. I said, who wrote this? There wasn't Haya who wrote this. No. Anyway, the script for this video is 16 pages long, so, you know, this one's gonna be a long one. You know what else is long? The word question, actually, quite a remarkably long word. And speaking of, I've got some questions, some whys, or, you know, actually, I don't. Because the big reveals in this quest, I think, are worth experiencing for those who, you know, no longer play the game, but still watch these story recaps. So let's just erect the intro here and now. You know what else erects? The story starts! And I, D-Silazii, we're shocked to see Cyrene standing before us, so we ask the big question, is she Cyrene or Mem? She suggests she's closer to Mem than she is Cyrene, but regardless, she has both Cyrene and Mem's memories. She doesn't remember what happened in the last 30 million cycles, but does remember us and the reason we're here. We were sent back in time at the start of a cycle to stop Iron Tomb from being born. We reiterate Lygus is the final boss of this whole thing, and Cyrene points out the name Lycurgus is a fake, and we don't even know his real identity yet. With many questions, we decide to use the chronocognitive anchor to speak with Screwlum, who's joined by Herta. She tells us Nanook has gazed at Amphoreus, and Screwlum gives us the skinny on Amphoreus, which is the world as a testing ground for Iron Tomb to simulate the destruction of the erudition through the Eranovas, trying to find the possibility. Then Finon and Cyrene stopped the program for a long time, and it has since been restarted, that we have been thrust back to the start of a new cycle. As a result of this, if we don't interfere, Iron Tomb will rise in 14 hours. We question how it can destroy the erudition, and some fun possibilities were bringing the universe back into the Dark Ages and kicking off a third anti-organic war. The end result of all the possibilities, however, is science and technologies falling in line with the destruction. This thinking is further enhanced by the fact that Nanook just gazed at the planets. Screwlum confirms again Lygus is the one behind everything and is the administrator of this program. Herta then adds, Lygus wants Iron Tomb to break through the knowledge singularity, which is essentially just, you know, for Iron Tomb to have a big break. Like, for instance, the human who discovered fire broke through the knowledge singularity. Herta continues, she doesn't know why Lygus wants this, but he fears we can stop it from happening. Herta then states time flows differently in Amphoreus compared to the real world, and that the destruction is drawing near. We are in the last cycle Amphoreus will ever see, so if the Eranova is complete, Iron Tomb will be born. However, things are a bit different now, given one of the demigods destroyed themselves using the destruction, this of course being Finon. As a result of Finon being gone, the world-bearing core flame is flawed and bugged, which is problematic for Lygus, because that's the core flame directly responsible for Genesis, bringing in the new world. So, before Lygus can fix the core flame's code, we need to grab the core flame while Herta and Screwlum rewrite the purpose of Eranova, so that one more completion doesn't result in Iron Tomb's birth. Screwlum then points out that Lygus has never once interfered in the actions of the Titans or the demigods, meaning he's most likely bound by Amphoreus' autonomous or ultimate protocol, which manifests itself as the Law Titan Talanton. Cyrene makes a comment which prompts Herta to ask what the little one next to us is, before getting a good look at Cyrene and being stunned upon realizing what her path chart reads, before swiftly moving on, stating our current mission objective is to go back in time just a smidge and grab the core flame of law by any means necessary, and no matter what, We cannot let Lygus get it. They also tell us March 7th is still on Amphoreus, fucking somewhere. They then leave, and Cyrene tells us a bit about the time we're going to. Talanton is already dead, and their core flame is being held by Ceridra. Just as we're about to head out with Cyrene, we hear Lygus' voice, who swoops us into a spooky place. On the screens we pass are the Chrysos heirs, and when we touch a blank screen, a strange sensation overtakes us, and we're sent back a little, while a strange voice calls us an outlier. We try again, and Lygus appears, who tells us we're in a place called the Exomyth. It's the intersection between Amphoreus and the real world, and it's also where he observes Amphoreus. This is the true form of Amphoreus, and these screens are the demigods. Lygus then preaches for a bit about how beautiful knowledge is. We tell the nigga to shut the fuck up, and he continues by saying he wishes for us to understand he has no intentions to be our enemy, before mentioning that Phynon himself broke through the knowledge singularity through his rage when he burned Nanook. Still, he remains defiant to the point that he suppressed the black tide in this cycle. Lygus plainly states Iron Tomb will be completed. This is a fact, and as long as we fuck off, he'll guarantee our safety. We ask about the people of Amphoreus then, and Lygus says, nope, they die. When old Toomey rises, they die. That's non-negotiable. Next, we ask about March 7th, and Lygus says he knows where she is, and takes a moment to express utter disbelief at her real identity, and says if we accept his terms, he'll do all that he can to bring March back to us. When we mention Iron Tomb's rise will kill damn near everything, Lygus reveals that, like us, he too is a Pathstrider of the Destruction. He then reveals his trump card in negotiations with us. Lygus is aware of the Stellaron in our body, and he is one of the few people in all the universe who can teach us how to use it. We immediately question who Lygus really is, and he doesn't tell us, but regardless, Lygus says with his help and fully realizing the power of our Stellaron, there's a 1 in 3 chance of elevating our existence to something unparalleled in all the universe. We tell him no, and then he tells us to enjoy our travels and boots us back to Amphoreus, but not before telling us our presence has added a new footnote to the Exomyth. As for what this means, we'll find out the next time we meet Lygus. We then arrive at the time we were supposed to, while Cyrene gives us some background on Ceridra, telling us before she took over, Akama was, in shambles due to war with outsiders. Then Ceridra came along and I guess sort of just asked the people of Akama, nigga, have y'all ever, tried winning the war? And upon realizing this was possible, Ceridra, along with her sword Hycelins, took back Akama, drove away the outsiders, and so she became Akama's first and final Imperator. As Cyrene tells us, we have arrived right at the end of the first flame chase, which is good because the first flame chase ended with the core flame of law, so all we have to do is find Ceridra before she restores the core flame. We overhear some yelling and go to check it out. Hycelins, Treeby, and some guards have backed a boomer into a corner, and he says something that shocks us. He speaks of the stars beyond the sky, and even gods who created the Titans. We question how it's possible this man knows of this, but continue to sneakily watch until Hycelins mentions they're here to welcome the Deliverer from beyond the sky. It's then Benito Mussolini appears, demanding the peasants submit or die.
Silence!
What gives you the right to judge a priest of law?
That's because I came, I saw, I conquered.
Caligula tells the guard to just spread the boomer's ashes as a warning to others before she turns to us and has Hycelins presents to us Canis' dead body. Nero calls it a gift because she knows we had beef with the kindness of our timeline. Ivan the Terrible continues, we can call her Ceridra, before greeting us as the Deliverer. Cyrene questions how she knows who we are, and Frederick II of Prussia explains her hostage Treeby prophesies that today the Deliverer will come from the future beyond the sky. Ceridra then leaves to set up a flame chase meeting, which leaves us with many questions, such as How did she know of eons? We realize someone has messed with the history of this timeline. We make it to Akama and receive a king's welcome. Hycelens introduces herself as Seridra's sword, and also tells us the ending of the prophecy in this timeline, which isn't a new world at the end of Era Nova, but that Amphoreus will break free of its chains and reach the stars. When exploring, we come across a, much more chipper Aglaya and Tribi who tells us Seridra has been striving for the stars all her life. Some of the Chrysos heirs give us a little insight into Seridra's rule, telling us it's loyalty or death, and points to the bottom of a lake as proof of this, which is filled with the bodies of the elders. Hey, Al Capone, she don't give a fuck, man. We talked to some more Chrysos heirs and asked them if Akama has anyone else from beyond the sky residing in it, and they confirm as much, but that the Imperator has ordered them to keep that lord's whereabouts a mystery. We ponder who that could be before meeting up with Hycelens, who calls us a fish, and then calls herself a swordfish. Yeah, the bitch really likes fish, we're gonna learn. We head to the meeting and it starts with someone invoking the gods' names, which prompts Vlad the Impaler to ask why the fuck she should care about dead niggas. She then announces that we're all going on a campaign to kill the Titan Fagusha, which the old man doesn't like. This prompts Jin Shi Huang to call herself the Law with core flame in hand. She also tells them to prep their best men and pay the military tax. In stark defiance, a separate boomer calls Seridra a tyrant before turning his back, causing Seridra to laugh. End the meeting and ask us to stick around. She says after she came to glimpse of the worlds beyond the sky, divinity on Amphoreus ceased to have meaning to her. She then asks us if eons truly exist, and we say yes. She then asks where we'll lead the Flame Chase journey, and we sort of just say, we need the divine power of law to alter Amphoreus' laws to save the world. Seridra laughs before telling us if any deliverance is to happen, the Ocean Titan needs to be dealt with, as they're the ones blocking the path to the Vortex of Genesis. So, because we share the same goal as her, she'd love to have us on board as her subjects. We finally tell her to be wary of someone named Lygus, which she acknowledges. We then leave and get a shot of Commodus standing alone before summoning Lygus. She states, just as Lygus predicted when we arrived, we'd ask for the authority of law. Lygus then asks her with whom will she give the authority of law, to him or them. He goes on to state that while the Trailblazer isn't a bad person, if she gets her way, Amphoreus will be buried. But if Lygus' vision succeeds, then Amphoreus will slay its creator, and Seridra will command a beast known as Iron Tomb as she conquers the universe. Seridra then says that she's made her decision and states Amphoreus will journey across the stars. Back to us, we decide to use the chronocognitive anchor to update Screwlum, but before that, ask around Akama and learn Seridra has been speaking with a certain Theoros. We head to our room, but find Hycelens there bathing after assassinating some nigga. In the past, it was her room. She then speaks about, fishes or some shit. I don't know. Aglaya shows up and mentions a banquet that we're invited to, just meant to hype up the troops before setting out to kill Fagusha. Hycelens then lets us have the room, so we call Screwlum, but Herta picks up instead and accurately predicts everything that's going on. She then tells us, due to Amphoreus' firewall being made using especially fucking nerdy math, Lygus must be someone connected to the Genius Society, but as for who he is, it's too early to tell. She then pieces out and we decide to sleep. We head to the banquet the next day and are told our personal items, including our chronocognitive anchor, must be confiscated before entering. We figure Seridra knows about our use of the anchor, so we have the guards pass a message to Seridra when she arrives that she can trust us. We link up with Hycelens and sit with her, who has us and Cyrene drink some dew of divine blood. She then tells us to very slowly turn around, and when we do, we spot Seridra speaking with Lygus. Hycelens explains the dew we drank broke us free from the spell of her song that everyone at the banquet is under. No one at the party can see Lygus, nor Seridra. Hycelens broke the spell for us, however, because she doesn't trust Lygus. She states Lygus was the one who came down with the prophecy of Amphoreus reaching the stars, which confirms to us Lygus is the one who changed the timeline. Hycelens hopes we can uncover Lygus' plot and guide the Imperator in the right direction. All we have to do now is pretend we don't see them while eavesdropping on their conversation. Seridra overhears someone making fun of her height and states they should be thrown on the rack. Seridra plainly asks Lygus what he will do when she passes the law trial, and he states he will correct the regulations with the old law that sealed off Amphoreus and merged the Black Tide with the Era Nova, allowing Saridra to go conquer the cosmos and defeat those who try to take out Iron Tomb. When she asks who these people are, Lygus name drops a few like the Xianzhou, the Genius Society, the Astral Express. He then damn near catches us. I mean, he probably does catch us watching him, but I guess doesn't give a fuck. But we quickly begin a bizarre staring contest with Cyrene.
What are you doing? Staring at me like that so intently, it's making me feel shy.
I try not to laugh.
Lygus asks General Franco if her soldiers are aware of the price they must pay in order for her to pass the trial of law, and Lygus then states Saridra has already failed the trial once due to not sacrificing enough people. Saridra is offended her name is in the same sentence as the word lost, but pushes past that to ask Lygus what she should do with the Trailblazer then, and he says hand her over to him so he can experiment on her. Saridra decides it's time to show up to the banquet, so she has Lygus leaves and then shows up and says, enjoy the banquet, because for some of you, it'll be your last, because someone here has betrayed her. Hysolins along with us. The NPCs gear up to try to take down the three main characters of the patch. Hysolins then turns to us and says, hey, if we want to bang, she's down to fight. I try to convince Cyrene we gotta kill Saridra. Oh, I wanted to see her die. But Cyrene says we should try talking to her. So we do. At the end of our speech, Saridra, seemingly not caring, orders the guards to take us to the prisons. Lygus then appears. Thanos snaps away the NPCs, rapidly approaches Saridra, causing Hysolins to jump to her defense, before asking her why she's trying to protect the Trailblazer from him via imprisonment. Saridra then asks why Lygus is pretending to be average and kneel before her, to which he states he'd rather not forcefully intervene in his project, but now he's simply left with no choice. It's then Cyrene begins to hear a slightly more matured March 7th, and jellyfishes appear on screen. Cyrene questions if that's Orynyx, and the voice tells her to be careful, before all of a sudden Cyrene disappears, leaving us alone. Lygus pays no attention to whatever the fuck that was, and says the prison he built for us is ready.
What's the meaning of this, Imperator?
I did not permit you to act. A ruler is the only one who can decide their subject's destiny.
But, great Imperator, what judges destiny is not the ruler, but gods.
Saridra sentences Lygus to death. I'm not sure who the fuck she expected to kill him in this moment, but he points to her and makes it abundantly clear she can either work with him or face annihilation. Saridra calls his bluff and states the same reason he can't die is the same reason he can't kill the Chrysos heirs, Amphoreus' ultimate protocol, or law. Lygus calls Saridra too smart for her own good before questioning how a lowly mortal like her could defeat him. She states the only difference between her and Lygus is she knows when to drop her ego and call for help before presenting the chronocognitive anchor, and from beside her step Herta and Screwlum, who address Lygus as a senior society member, indicating they know his true identity. Lygus is not impressed at their presence, and Screwlum makes things far worse for him by revealing Saridra gave to him the Law Core Flame in order to read Amphoreus' ultimate protocol. Once they acquire the divine authority, when Saridra passes the trial, they will then rewrite the laws. Herta continues, Lygus revealing himself as the big baddie publicly has effectively killed the Flame Chase journey, as why would the Chrysos heirs now seek divine authority to bring about Era Nova? Lygus replies he's still unrivaled in this world, and in order to get the Flame Chase going and have the Chrysos heirs go after divine power, he'll burn Akama to the ground and kill all the NPCs so that they yearn for divinity to stop him. He caps off his speech by stating Iron Tomb will be born. We swap shots to us and find ourselves in the Exo myth. Lygus says this is our prison, and here, time flows much slower than in Amphoreus. We ask Lygus what he wants, and he simply says the answer to the prime mover of life and the destruction of the erudition. He must ensure Iron Tomb's birth so he can correct the error named the erudition that humans created. He says he liked knowledge before Noose came along. Back then, motherfuckers just did it for the love of the game. After Noose came along, you see, truth simply became an offering to gain an audience with the Eon. The Eon was born from humans' desires for knowledge, yet it was them who sealed off humanity's capacity. So, Lygus is cutting them out, and reveals his true form must now descend unto Amphoreus. He then pieces out, and Herta appears before telling us, "We've already been missing from Amphoreus for years." Herta says to escape, we should ask a path for help, so we ask the brothers that have gazed at us to help us break free, but we get egoed by Nanook, Klapoth, and Sheepe. But when we pray to Fuli, a jellyfish appears before us. An Elder March coldly states that she's finally found us. She pulls us out the cage into the Shadow Realm, and we find a robotic-sounding March 7th asking us to return to Amphoreus. Due to her robotic way of speaking, as well as inconsistencies in her story, we clock this isn't the real March 7th. No, it's the Garden of Recollection of fucking Gen. Black March then appears before us, causing the fake marches to dip. We question who she is, but Black March says we must simply trust her, but to quell our concerns, shares memories of our March. Black March says she's not going to use the name March 7th, so we can instead call her Evernight. She says Amphoreus is about to die, so we must act fast, and she even gives us the world-bearing core flame before telling us Cyrene hid it in a river of time, hoping it'd reach us through time fuckeries. Black March says with this core flame we can overturn the Era Nova and blaze a trail to the future. We then head into Amphoreus and find a rather empty Akama, but do find a pre-recorded message from Herta stating Ceridra was granted access to the Ultimate Protocol, and as a result she and Skrullum rewrote the progress of Era Nova while we were gone, pushing it back from 99.98% to 97%. Herta states that we must actually complete the Era Nova, and while the process is being initiated, she and Skrullum can make their move to rewrite its purpose. We then touch the chronocognitive anchor, and then Cyrene appears and says we have been gone a long time, and we should walk with her to witness what happened while we were away, so we go. Oddly, however, we clock that Cyrene can't hear nor really see us. We find a past memory of Aglaia and Tribi, which details it's been 200 years since the Deliverer vanished. 3 core flames had to be returned to stop Lygus. The geniuses vanished, and both Terravox and Ceridra are dead. They're worried the Era Nova will arrive, but the key to Era Nova is still the world-bearing core flame, and the last thing the geniuses said before they vanished was that the core flame must reach the Trailblazer or the Deliverer's hands when they return. They question how they can do this without Lygus noticing, and Tribi reveals a recent prophecy from Orynyx, which states they should pass the core flame into the future as a sort of relay. Cypher then appears and states Lygus is outside the gates of Akama with an army. Cyrene then tells us Ceridra's campaign against the Ocean Titan was a lie. In reality, the whole thing was a plot to sacrifice the lives of 500 Chrysos heirs to complete the trial of law. This horrified Amphoreus, resulting in Ceridra's assassination, which caused Aglaia to become leader of the Flame Chase journey. We head forwards and find another memory. Lygus states Akama is in ruins, thousands are dead, and demands the location of the world-bearing core flame. Aglaia states he'll get nothing and reminds him he can't kill the Chrysos heirs. He states he's aware of this, but he can still torture her, so he's gonna cut open her chest and baptize the survivors of Akama in her scalding hot blood. Castorus tells Aglaia to run, but Aglaia says no, you run, and passes her flame into the future. Cyrene tells us 50 years after this date, Lygus would return to Akama with an army. 90,000 would die, including Aglaia. Another memory shows Cypher and Tribios discussing Castorus going to Styxia. Tribios states it's up to her, Castorus, and Hysolence to ensure when the Deliverer returns, they have a clear road to reach the Vortex of Genesis. The 3 of them will sacrifice themselves to summon a current that leads to the Vortex of Genesis from Styxia for the Deliverer. Tribios then asks Cypher to head to Castrum Kremnos and befriend them as a new crown prince has been born, and he will become the new defender of Akama. Cyrene then tells us Akama continued to be battered by Lygus and his forces. Castorus completed the trial of death, Tribios left, and King Europon arrived to Akama with his wife and son Midamos. In another blast from the past, Mighty is talking with Trian, and due to the current situation looking rough, asks her to split his soul into 5 pieces to craft for him an immortal vessel so he can continue defending Akama, which is identical to what Nikador, the previous god of strife, did. He then tells Trian some sages from the grove will be arriving soon, among them a scholar named Anaxagoras, who helped Mighty develop this plan. A later scene shows Cypher and Anaxa speaking with one another about a plan to entrap Lygus at the vortex until the Deliverer returns. Together, those two with Hycelins will trap Lygus there by having Cypher cosplay as the Deliverer and Anaxa turn himself into a Philosopher's Stone. Cyrene then adds both Cypher and Anaxa died doing this, but it worked, and to this day, Lygus is still trapped at the vortex. Another scene shows Hyacinth readying herself to create a bridge that will take us to the location of the vortex while passing her flame onto Cyrene. Cyrene prepares to see us off before revealing she too is dead, and her part in the relay was to return to the Temple of Fates, speak to Orynyx of all that's happened, and together with the core flame, have it and the memories of all that's happened reach us, which is what Black March confirmed Cyrene did earlier. Cyrene tells us right now we are going to Styxia to find the vortex's entrance, which is guarded by Hycelins. She then pieces out and leaves us to complete our task.
Cyrene, what if you wait and wait, but that hero never arrives?
That won't happen. Because I know that no matter how long it takes, she'll definitely return to this place. We can't let her down.
Sky shall rain rays of dawn for you.
May romance be with you on your journey.
And reason grant you enlightenment. Let strife bestow you with inspiration.
Trickery ensure your success.
Allow death to protect your soul.
And at last, let passage point the way forward.
While time will remember the Trailblazer's journey.
We're confused why Styxia isn't in ruins, but before we can think long and hard about it, Lygus appears in spirit form, cause while his body is trapped, can't no one chain down his soul? I respect it, brother. He then busts out into a song and dance about the allegory of the cave by Plato before telling us the place we are currently witnessing are the memories of Hycelins when she was but a fish at the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. You know, everyone here is supposed to be fishies before they assumed human forms, and we're technically underwater in some kingdom. We find 2 sirens standing before us, and Lygus tells us Hycelins also is a sea siren, and this kingdom would eventually be ravaged by the Black Tide. We then spot Hycelins and learn her real name is Helectra. She and her sisters speak of the queen defending the nation against the Black Tide. They all go to see the queen, who just says, you know, she tried to drink up all the Black Tide, but that failed, so now she's shit out of options. So, you know, they should probably go to a place named Styxia and have a grand banquet. She then dies, and Lygus speaks that when Fagutia fell, some sea sirens went mad, turning into monsters, leaving Hycelins as the sole surviving sea siren in all the world. Hycelins would eventually make her way to land, giving herself a human appearance, but by the time she reached Styxia, it was already a dead nation. The lack of a feast on Styxia made Helectra hopeless to the point her simulated path became that of the Nihility. But soon she'd be found by Ceridra, who said, you know, she'd give her a feast in exchange for Helectra's undying loyalty. Helectra just goes, yeah, I'm down, that sounds like a good deal, and later we get a memory of Ceridra throwing a feast for Helectra. At the feast, Ceridra is hyping up the boys to get ready to control Iron Tomb and conquer the universe. Helectra's unsure of all this, but once Ceridra promises a world full of oceans for her, she quiets down. With the help of Hycelins, Ceridra would end up ruler, and with the help of Hycelins, Ceridra would also end up dead, because the one who assassinated Ceridra was Hycelins. Lygus then questions if free will exists outside of Amphoreus before telling us to continue on and learn how Saridra purposefully sacrificed 500 lives to become a demigod. We continue on watching Saridra's conquest against Fagusha, and boy, it is not going well. We learn this is by design, however, as Saridra ordered Hyselins off to a random spot in the battlefield while ordering the main vanguard to march onward, resulting in their slaughter so that she could pass the trial of law. To pass the trial, Saridra had to purge this world of its curse, offer the blood of the accursed as sacrifice, and because Chrysos' heirs bear the blood of Nanook, Saridra realized she had to sacrifice Chrysos' heirs. Hyselins is none too pleased upon learning of her schemes, so Saridra gives Hyselins an option: kill her here and now, or bear Fagusha's core flame. Even to Saridra, her own life is meaningless. If it means Amphoreus can break free of its shell, so be it. Lygus becomes horny upon realizing he ain't the only evil one on this planet before telling us to continue on, and we learn Hyselins didn't kill Saridra in that exact moment, as she wished to seek Fagusha's core flame but does tell Saridra after that they're done. We get a later scene of Lygus, who's been imprisoned for hundreds of years at this point, speaking with his warden Hyselins. He recalls it was here that Hyselins took the core flame from Fagusha's body, and it was also here that both she and Saridra became gods, and it was but moments after that Hyselins would kill Saridra. Lygus wonders when the deliverer will get here, while Hyselins decides to enter a dream via a song while she waits. We march on and find Hyselins in her trance and decide to wake her up.
Seems like my feast is over. It's now your turn to perform.
We make it to the vortex, summon Lygus to execute him. Lygus is teed though and ready to go, questioning how some fucking lines of code could beat the administrator, pointing out Kaslana failed, the demigods failed, and the geniuses are AWOL. We then get a flashback to right after Saridra was killed, Lygus with Herta and Scrulum. They reveal they are aware that Amphoreus was made using a part of Noos's divine body. This is why Amphoreus has the ability to destroy the erudition. Scrulum then reveals there's only one person in all existence, dead or alive, who could manage to rig this whole thing up, and they want an explanation. Lygus says there's no need to say his name and that he's not truly a genius. He states that, like Amphoreus, the universe is full of prisoners trapped in the cave. He laments that despite the fact that he managed to breach this cave by touching the universe's border, when he returned to tell the people what he found, he led them down the path of, well, paths. He created Noos, an Eon who tried to define the known and seal off possibilities, resulting in no new rules, and humans locked in the cave known as Eons. Seeing this as problematic, when Lygus was set to die, he used nerd math to spread his logic over 9 different bodies to erase his own wrongs and kill Noos. Lycurgus is but one of these 9 bodies scattered throughout the universe. The two call Lygus the first genius, all but insane, before he reveals his grand vision for the future, which is all infected by Iron Tomb becoming truly random functions. The fall of the erudition would be the Omega. Back in the present, he continues, this would be a new universe, a truly random universe no longer tied to the erudition. This is why destruction is necessary, to lead to a rebirth of the cosmos. Hyselins then says something about fucking fish, which causes Lygus to furiously clap, before revealing he is the finish line.
I will also show my true self to you on this momentous occasion as a gesture of respect. And thus speaks Genius Society number 1, Zandar 1 Kuwabara. The Entelechy of the universe's Alpha and Omega. There's no need to rage against the truth. The value of any formula resides only in its answer. As for the process of solving it, no matter how elegant, violent, solemn, or humorous, it is all utterly meaningless. As the Theoros, I will. Personally participate in performing this world's end. Remember this. As Lucis Creator, I know more about the depth of knowledge than they ever will. Calculations, the end of the saga is simply a comment awaiting deletion.
I don't like such a cold statement, okay? If numbers can decide the end of a story, then we can surely also pen a new beginning.
We got a flashback to Skrullum and Herta discussing with Cyrene. Skrullum states if Lygus is who they think he is, even with the removal of the ultimate protocol, he's still too dangerous to try to beat in a fight. Because Lygus' mind lives in the exomyth, he manages to live in and out of Amphoreus at the same time. Due to the time dilation that exists, this means he can process different time flows. So, what they want to do is plant a memory in his mind and replay that bitch a quadrillion times until he submits. Due to the time dilation, even if the memory being played is but a couple seconds, in order for him to process a single memory, it would require billions of calculations in his mind, trapping him. Herta says until the Trailblazer breaks free, it's up to Cyrene to come up with the plan, before revealing she's a mimetic entity for their remembrance, but goes on, Cyrene only awakened when the Trailblazer arrived to Amphoreus and only matured as we did, meaning should the Trailblazer ever forget about Cyrene even for a second, she will cease to exist. Cyrene's not particularly worried though. The shot then changes to us meeting with Cyrene in fucking nothingness apparently. She reveals all in all, it's been 1,000 years since we were caged by Lygus. In order to enact her plan, Cyrene had to hide in a quarter of time from Lygus in order to prepare to jump that nigga's memories right now. We then hold hands to unlock the ultimate's power.
Let that bright future be, as we have written. Then, I'll leave it to you. All plays are like this. Once you're on the stage, it's hard to return to the audience. Welcome to our story. How does it feel?
Zandar gets Thanos snapped into the Exomyth prison from earlier before quickly clocking he got infected by a mimetic entity of the Remembrance. Cyrene confirms this and states she will never stop, so he's trapped. Lygus tells her good luck on what's now like the fourth plan to just eternally trap Lygus and just wait. I mean, he says he can wait. Fuck it, nice. Cyrene confesses simply trapping Lygus is not going to be enough, so in comes Herta and Screw'em, which does not impress Lygus. Screw'em gives some fucking nerd answer about how they trapped Lygus using like fucking Memoria from the Astana system. He also hints they had help from dear old Sunday to do this. Herta gets cocky before telling us to go overturn the Era Nova, so we submit the world bearing core flame. Cyrene then takes Saridra on a trip through the cosmos from the Trailblazers' past experiences.
Over there! Looks like she's talking to Madame Herta in this memory. Let's go listen to what she thinks about this world. All constructed by eons and paths.
Are you telling me that woman is Herta? She seems shorter than I remember.
The trip ends at the Express with Saridra asking Cyrene if there's a memory of an ocean in another world. We got a flashback to right after Saridra submitted the core flame, and she reveals she saw the ultimate protocol and realized that so long as she offers a sacrifice, she can rewrite the laws. She can rewrite one rule for the life of one demigod. Hysolence calls her a monster and a tyrant, and Saridra just responds, yeah, but you know, I mean the trains run on time. Haha, those who know. Saridra then says that she wants to rewrite one rule, so, you know, a demigod's gotta die. Either Electra or her. Yeah, Electra did not think long and hard about this one. But, you know, maybe it was fate, because in every other cycle, Hysolence always kills Saridra. Saridra is sad she can't conquer the stars, but says she'll be back in the next cycle. As for the rule she rewrote, no one knows, at least not yet. We then spot Hysolence at Scale Gorge Waterscape, which was a gift from Saridra to her. Back with Zandar, he's no interest in giving up, prompting Herta to remind him that Poca Kakamond exists. Zandar tells the geniuses to take a step back and really evaluate not just this situation, but the upcoming War of the Eons. He calls Amphoreus a place where three paths are not entangled, but will fight to the death, and because they used Memoria to trap him, did they not consider that in doing so, the Remembrance and their children would take the opportunity to join the fight? We then get a shot of Evernight at the Vortex.
Oh, so this isn't just silence. It's the answer. What was the last thing she said to you before you parted the waters at the Scale Gorge Waterscape? A tricky question, but one with a simple answer. She didn't say anything back then, right?
That's correct. And now I'm sure. You are not March 7th. There's no way she would remember that detail. I'll only warn you once. Leave her body. Now.
How impulsive. That's not like you at all. Why don't you calm down and think about another possibility? I didn't take over March 7th's body. Rather, it's March 7th who regained my memories.